I was the manager of one of the most successful menswear stores in the San Francisco Bay Area, Grodins Valley Fair. It was Christmas time and we had a lot of extra staff, some of whom hadn't worked in a menswear store before. This particular evening, I had scheduled myself to give the initial orientation and training to a woman, Judy, who hadn't worked outside of the home for over 20 years. However, something came up at the last minute, and I couldn't get to her for about an hour. Judy, while you're waiting for me, why don't you straighten up the men's neckties? They're a mess, I told her, as I walked her over to the ties and pointed out the disaster awaiting her. Today, most neckties are hung on racks, but at the time of this story, and especially at Grodins, the ties were folded and placed on shelves. We had a 2-page policy on exactly how they should be arranged. 4 cases of 2 shelves each with the neckties all scrambled up. We called it our spaghetti case. She got to work and I immediately went back to my emergency. When I returned to her, she was just finishing up. The ties looked fine. The only problem was they weren't done the Grodins way. I'd forgotten to show her how. She'd just spent an hour straightening them up, and now I was going to have to tell her that she had to start all over again. Then I remembered that this was her first job out of the home in 20 years. No way I could tell her that she'd done her first task wrong. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't let her start out on a new job that way. So I told her, "They look great, Judy. Now let's start with a store tour," and the orientation and training began. All night long I was concerned about our tie sales. Every time I'd go past the shelves, I'd notice they weren't getting messed up. I just knew we weren't selling any neckwear. The buyer was not going to be happy with me. We usually sold more ties than any store in the chain. Finally, the night ended, and we locked up the store. The first thing to do was to check our neckwear sales. I had to find out just how much trouble I was in. Betty, our office manager, ran the totals for me and handed me the slip. "There's got to be something wrong," I said. I thought so too, but I triple-checked, and it's right. We'd had the biggest neckwear night ever. Within 2 weeks, all 24 stores in the chain were stacking ties Judy's way. It's interesting how we hang on to the belief that only those with a certain level of education, or those from certain schools, or those who have accomplished certain things are worthy of our consideration. You never know where your answer will come from. And if you trust only those who have gained the trappings of knowledge, you will surely miss the mark, and or fail to accomplish the difficult, let alone the impossible. Thank you.